How to mount a portable tracker. Are you using a tracker from our company? If so, we will show you how to mount it correctly. If you want to find out if your company vehicle really is being used for company business, nobody can know about the installation of the tracker. Gossip and rumours can be heard in every company. So if you really want to be sure that nobody knows about the installation of the tracker, you must do this yourself. You don't need to borrow the car keys to do this, as our tracker is equipped with extra strong magnets, allowing it to be mounted outside and underneath the vehicle on the chassis. From our experience, we know that many people are scared of putting a tracker under a vehicle because they're worried that it will fall off during a trip, or the tracker will be seen, or they will be seen mounting the tracker. You do not need to be worried about this. We will teach you how to mount a tracker quickly and correctly. The holding force of the magnet is dependent on the distance between the magnets and the metal surface. You can test the strength of the magnets on a flat metal surface which can be found around the office or home, for example on a fridge door or on a metal door frame. First, mount the tracker with a paper tissue or serviette placed between the tracker and the fridge, and then try to pull the tracker off the surface. This holding force is strong. Now, put a second paper tissue between the tracker and the fridge. The holding force is now too weak. Bear in mind the magnetic force using one paper tissue. Vehicles have protective material sprayed or fixed onto the chassis. The thickness and type of this material may differ according to your vehicle. You need to find a flat surface with the thinnest layer of isolation material on the car. Usually, modern cars have a plastic covered chassis. You can still find metal in certain places. When you mount the tracker onto the chassis, it should remain fixed there in the same way as when you tested it on the fridge. It is not advisable to mount the tracker in certain places. The tracker should not be mounted onto the exhaust, as the tracker case is plastic and the casing would melt in the heat. You should always try and position the tracker horizontally and not vertically, as it could slide downwards, unless there is something to stop it sliding down. The tracker cannot be put onto moving parts, as the impact from driving through a pothole could cause the tracker to fall off. We recommend these places as being ideal, near the front or rear bumpers. There are metal subframes that are used to fix plastic bumpers to the chassis, and these also protect the car if collisions occur. These are very strong and will hold a magnet well. On some cars there is a towing hitch for towing trailers. These usually have their own subframe or fixing, on which it is possible to place the tracker. Places on the chassis where there are recesses in the floor pan. These are good because the tracker is not splashed by water when the vehicle drives through a puddle. Water in puddles can create a strong force, and so driving through a puddle at high speed would pull the tracker off. Water is not a problem for the tracker as it is waterproof. This applies to snow and mud too. The surface should be flat as possible to enable full contact, so that the full potential of the magnetic surface of the tracker is used. To give you an idea of what happens under the vehicle when driven through a puddle, we filmed the following shots on a wet road and driving through puddles roughly 3 centimetres deep. We placed 2 trackers onto the car. The first tracker, placed closest to the camera, only remained fixed in a way that would compare to having the tracker placed on a fridge with 2 tissues between it and the surface. Also, it was not on a flat surface, and so it did not hold fast. The recess in front of the tracker meant that water flowed underneath the tracker. You can see that the wet road had no effect on the tracker. Water in puddles can create a strong force, and so driving through a puddle at high speed would pull the tracker off. The second tracker, farthest away from the camera, held firm because it was mounted onto a flat surface, and this would compare to having a single tissue between the tracker and the fridge. We recommend the following. If you mount a tracker onto the chassis, the magnets must hold firm in a way that is comparable to placing the tracker onto a fridge, with one tissue placed between it and the fridge. Mounting the tracker in this way will enable it to hold firm, even when the vehicle is driven through large puddles. Ideally, it is best to mount the tracker somewhere where it will not be sprayed by water directly. You can see that even driving over the curb does not dislodge the tracker. What is the correct positioning of the tracker? The tracker contains a GPS antenna, which is located on the opposite side to the serial number. The tracker should be mounted so that the GPS antenna is directed towards the road or directed to the outside perimeter of the vehicle. If the antenna is directed to the floor pan of the vehicle or hidden in a deep recess, then the tracker will not position as accurately. The positioning of the GPS antenna has a significant influence on the number of hours that the tracker can operate for between charging. For example, in the mode Periodic Wake Up once every 24 hours, the difference between a good GPS signal and a bad one could be up to 50 days operating time. What to do if the tracker falls off the vehicle? When a tracker falls off a vehicle, it still remains functional and continues to transmit a location. Lying by the side of a road, it should not be a problem to find it, even if somebody takes it. A notification can be set to let you know that a tracker has fallen off or removed. We always recommend using Activated by Motion to track the car as a general mode. Other modes can be used for specific requirements or circumstances. We would also suggest making sure that the tracker is charged to 100% before deploying it. It will save you time and effort later. When the battery only has 20% of its energy remaining, you can set a notification to receive an alert, and it is advisable to recharge the tracker at this point. We recommend the tracker is removed if possible, or switch to the mode Periodic Wake Up once every 60 minutes. This is so that you can continue to have the tracker under your control before the battery goes flat, and also if the tracker did fall off a vehicle, there is still enough time or battery life to find and recover it.